If you woke up this morning and saw headlines screaming about major immigration reform passing in Congress, I know your heart probably started racing. Maybe you felt that familiar knot in your stomach, wondering what this means for you, for your visa, for your family, for the life you're building here. You're not alone in feeling worried or confused. But here's what I want you to know right now. We're going to walk through this together, slowly and clearly. We're going to separate the actual facts from the rumors, the real changes from the speculation, and by the end of this conversation, you'll understand exactly what's happening and what it means for your specific situation. So take a deep breath, and let's get the truth. Welcome back to Immigration News Today. I'm here to help you understand what's really going on with immigration policy, not to add to the noise or the fear. And today, we need to have an honest conversation about what people are calling major immigration reform in Congress, because there's a lot of confusion, a lot of misinformation spreading on social media, and a lot of people making claims that simply aren't accurate. First, let me be very clear about something fundamental. When you see a headline that says immigration reform has passed in Congress, you need to understand exactly what that means in the American legislative process. The United States Congress has two chambers, the House of Representatives and the Senate. For any bill to become law, it must pass both chambers with identical language, and then it must be signed by the President. Even after all of that happens, most immigration changes don't take effect immediately. There are implementation periods, regulatory processes, and often court challenges that can take months or even years to resolve. So, when we talk about something passing in Congress, we need to ask several questions. Did it pass the House only, or did it pass both the House and the Senate? If it passed both chambers, has the President signed it yet? And if it's been signed into law, when does it actually take effect? These details matter enormously because they determine whether anything has actually changed in your life today or not. Now, as of the time I'm recording this video, let me tell you what the current reality is. There have been numerous immigration bills proposed in Congress over the past several years. Some have focused on border security, some on visa programs, some on pathways to citizenship, and some on enforcement measures. Various versions of comprehensive immigration reform have been discussed, debated, drafted, and introduced. But here's the truth that you need to understand. Passing comprehensive immigration reform in the United States is extraordinarily difficult. It requires significant bipartisan support, and on an issue as politically divisive as immigration, that level of agreement has been very rare in recent decades. What often happens is this. A bill might pass one chamber of Congress, generating headlines and social media buzz. People see these headlines and immediately panic, thinking that immigration law has changed overnight. But remember what I just explained. Passing one chamber is only one step in a multi-step process. If a bill passes the House but doesn't pass the Senate, it doesn't become law. It's simply a statement of what one chamber supports, but it has no legal effect on your status, your visa, or your rights. Let me give you some context. Over the years, there have been many moments when immigration reform seemed close to passing. There was significant discussion during the Obama administration, during the Trump administration, and during the Biden administration. Various proposals have included things like expanding work visa categories, creating pathways to citizenship for certain undocumented immigrants, increasing border security measures, reforming the asylum system, and changing family-based immigration rules. But despite all this discussion and all these proposals, comprehensive immigration reform has not been enacted into law for decades. The last major overhaul of American immigration law was the Immigration Act of 1990. Since then, there have been smaller changes, executive actions, policy memorandums, and regulatory adjustments. But no comprehensive reform bill has successfully navigated through both chambers of Congress and been signed into law. This doesn't mean change is impossible, but it does mean you should be very skeptical when you see claims that everything has suddenly changed. So, what should you do when you see alarming headlines about immigration reform? First, don't panic. Second, look for specifics. Ask yourself, what exactly is being claimed? Is this about a bill that was introduced? A bill that passed one chamber? A bill that passed both chambers? Or a bill that was actually signed into law? Third, check official government sources. The official websites for the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, the Department of State, and Congress itself will have accurate, up-to-date information about what laws are actually in effect. Let me address some specific rumors and misconceptions that tend to circulate whenever there's news about immigration reform. One common rumor is that all work visas will be eliminated or drastically reduced. This is false. The United States economy depends heavily on immigrant workers in many sectors, from technology to healthcare to agriculture. While there may be discussions about reforming specific visa categories or changing caps and requirements, wholesale elimination of work visa programs is not realistic and is not part of any serious legislative proposal that has gained significant support. Another rumor that spreads quickly is that all undocumented immigrants will be immediately deported if enforcement measures pass. This is also misleading. Even if enforcement funding increases or policies change, the U.S. immigration system has always had enforcement priorities. Resources are limited, and enforcement agencies focus on individuals with criminal records, recent border crossers, and those who have received final orders of removal. If you're living in the United States, working, paying taxes, and contributing to your community, you are not automatically at risk just because an enforcement bill passes one chamber of Congress. There's also confusion about how immigration reform might affect people who already have green cards or are in the process of adjusting their status. Let me be very clear. If you already have lawful permanent resident status, meaning you have a green card, changes to immigration law very rarely affect you retroactively. Your status is protected. Future reforms might change the rules for new applicants, but they don't typically strip status from people who already have it. Similarly, if you've already filed an application for adjustment of status or a visa petition, you're generally protected under the law as it existed when you filed, unless the new law specifically says otherwise, which is uncommon. Now, let's talk about what you should actually be paying attention to. If Congress is discussing immigration reform, the areas most likely to see change include border security funding, asylum procedures, employment verification systems, visa lottery programs, and potentially the creation of new pathways to legal status for certain groups. If you fall into one of these categories, then yes, you should pay close attention to the details of any proposed legislation. But paying attention doesn't mean panicking. It means staying informed through reliable sources and consulting with a qualified immigration attorney if you have specific concerns about your situation. This brings me to a critical point that I want every single viewer to understand. Immigration law is complex, and everyone's situation is unique. What applies to one person might not apply to another, even if their circumstances seem similar. This is why it's so important to consult with a licensed immigration attorney if you have questions about how any law or policy change might affect you personally. I provide general information and education on this channel, but I am not your attorney, and nothing I say should be taken as personalized legal advice. Only a qualified professional who knows the details of your case can give you advice specific to your situation. Let me also talk about something that doesn't get discussed enough: the importance of achieving permanent residency and eventually citizenship. If you're currently in the United States on a temporary visa, whether it's a work visa, student visa, or any other non-immigrant status, you're much more vulnerable to policy changes than permanent residents or citizens. Temporary visas can be modified, visa categories can be eliminated or restricted, and policies can change in ways that affect your ability to extend or renew your status. This is why, if you're eligible, pursuing a green card should be a priority. And once you have a green card, if you're eligible for citizenship, that should be your next goal. Citizens have the most secure status possible. Your rights cannot be taken away due to immigration policy changes. You can vote, you have full protection under the Constitution, and you never have to worry about visa renewals or maintaining status. I also want to address the emotional toll that this constant uncertainty takes on immigrant communities. Living with the fear that laws might change, that your status might be affected, that you might be separated from your family, this is incredibly stressful. And it's made worse by the fact that social media and some news outlets often sensationalize immigration news to get clicks and views. They use alarming language, vague claims, and worst-case scenarios because fear gets attention. But you deserve better than that. You deserve accurate, clear, honest information that respects your intelligence and your humanity. So here's my advice for navigating this landscape. First, always verify information before you believe it or share it. Check official government websites like uscis.gov. Look for statements from credible immigration attorneys and organizations. Be skeptical of viral social media posts that make dramatic claims without citing specific sources or legislation numbers. Second, understand the difference between proposed policy, bills introduced in Congress, bills that pass one chamber, bills that become law, and when those laws actually take effect. These are all different stages, and most proposals never make it through the entire process. Third, if you're worried about how a potential change might affect you, don't rely on internet forums or friends' opinions. Consult with a licensed immigration attorney who can review your specific situation and give you proper guidance. Fourth, focus on what you can control. You can't control what Congress does or what policies are proposed, but you can make sure your own situation is as strong as possible. Keep your documents organized and up to date. If you have a visa that requires renewal, don't wait until the last minute. If you're eligible to apply for a green card or citizenship, seriously consider moving forward with those applications. Maintain lawful status, follow all the rules, pay your taxes, and keep records of everything. These things are within your control, and they make a significant difference. Fifth, build a support network. Connect with others in your community who understand what you're going through. Join legitimate immigrant support organizations. Having people to talk to who share your experiences can help reduce the isolation and anxiety that often comes with being an immigrant in uncertain times. Let me return to the specific question of what, if anything, has actually changed recently. As I record this, if there has been a recent vote in Congress on immigration-related legislation, it's essential to look at exactly what was voted on, which chamber it passed, and what its current status is. Most likely what you're seeing is either a bill that passed the House but hasn't been taken up by the Senate, a bill that passed one version in one chamber and a different version in another chamber and now needs to be reconciled, or a bill that has been introduced but hasn't been voted on at all. In any of these scenarios, nothing has changed yet in terms of actual immigration law. Remember, the American legislative process is designed to be slow and deliberate. This can be frustrating when you're waiting for positive reforms, but it also means that sudden dramatic changes are rare. The system requires consensus, debate, and multiple levels of approval. This is actually a form of protection, because it means that immigration law doesn't change on a whim or overnight based on one person's decision. If comprehensive immigration reform does eventually pass, which would be a significant development, there will be implementation periods, regulatory guidance, and clear timelines for when different provisions take effect. You will have time to understand how the changes affect you and to take appropriate action. It won't be a situation where you wake up one morning and everything is different without warning. Until that happens, the current immigration laws and policies remain in effect. If you have a valid visa, continue to maintain your status according to current requirements. If you have a green card, you continue to have all the rights and responsibilities that come with permanent residence. If you have a pending application, it continues to be processed under current law unless and until new legislation specifically changes the rules and provides transition guidance. I want to close with this thought. Being an immigrant requires courage, resilience, and hope. You've already shown enormous strength by pursuing opportunities in a new country, navigating complex systems, and building a life often far from everything and everyone you knew. You deserve to have accurate information, to be treated with dignity, and to make decisions based on facts rather than fear. That's what this channel is committed to providing. We won't sensationalize, we won't spread rumors, and we won't add to your anxiety just to get views. We'll give you the truth clearly and calmly so you can make informed decisions for yourself and your family. If you found this video helpful, please subscribe to Immigration News Today and turn on notifications so you don't miss our future updates. We're committed to bringing you accurate, reliable immigration news and analysis, especially during times when there's a lot of confusion and misinformation circulating. Give this video a like if it helped clear up some of the confusion you were feeling, and please share it with your family members, friends, and anyone in your community who might be worried about what they've been hearing regarding immigration reform. Your support helps us continue to create content that serves immigrant communities with honesty and respect. And if you have questions, concerns, or topics you'd like us to cover in future videos, please leave a comment below. We read every single one, and your input helps us create content that truly meets your needs. Thank you for being here. Thank you for trusting us with your time and attention. And remember, stay informed, stay calm, and always verify information before you let it affect your peace of mind. We're in this together, and we'll continue to keep you updated with the facts you need to navigate your immigration journey successfully.